A huge welcome to Unleashing Potential today. And I'm very excited about my guest today, and that's Dr. Hardus Pretorius. Hardus, welcome to you.
Thank you, Doc Anthony. I really appreciate the honor and privilege to be interviewed today, and long friend, long time friend. So thank you very much for the interview.
Absolutely. Well, let me just introduce you. You are the CEO of Spearpoint Publishers, and you've helped many people publish books. And I know that you've written many books, and I'm so excited that we're going to be sharing on your one latest release today, and that is called The Bottom of the Pit Experience. Are you excited about this book and the launch as we speak?
Yes, this book means a lot to me. Um, I had to go through some turmoil in my life to make this book happen. So, and it's already one of my best sellers. Of very excited.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I know that you're well known to the leadership fraternals in terms of leadership development. You're a leadership coach. And obviously, as a publisher, you help other people publish their books. So I am going to have to accept that this book has got a dual purpose, and that is to add value to the lives of others as you help unleash their potential, because that fits in the crack in the mold of what I'm talking about today. And yes, you always are a leadership developer. So there's this hidden agenda. Yes, the book is a story, but as a person, as an individual, we want to develop you. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, absolutely. As you've correctly stated, my first passion is leadership and leadership development. We have trained so many times together, and this book tells my story of something I went through, but it's also a point where I am want to use this as a training example that even leaders go through challenging and tough times. And sometimes, as a leader, we don't want to acknowledge this because it might look like a sign of weakness. And the book will bring that to an understanding that it's not a sign of weakness when you're going through tough times, but rather as an encouragement to leaders that when you go through tough times, acknowledge this, deal with it, and use that as a training opportunity for the current leaders and upcoming leaders.
100%. Well, let's start with that story of yours where it sort of goes like the power of the little toe. Let us hear.
Well, it started in January. We are excited because everybody is excited about January. It's a new year, new beginnings, and we are excited for the year. And we all have these wonderful, great things planned ahead. And especially if you're a pastor like myself, it's the beginning of a new year for your church. You need to get momentum in the church. Everything must run smoothly and gather momentum. And on the 6th of January, I noticed a little spot on my right foot's little toe. And I didn't bother too much about it because it's insignificant little spot. And as the days go by, 2 days later, this little red dot turned into a blister, and my little toe and the two toes next to it turned red. Inflammation came in. Went to the pharmacy, prescribed some antibiotics. Nothing happened. A day later, it turned blue.
Wow.
Went to the hospital. Says, "Sorry, sir, you have gangrene." I said, but how? How is this possible? We all fasted and we prayed and we called upon the name of the Lord, and nothing happened. This blue toe turned black.
Wow.
And the doctors told me, we have to amputate your toe, and there's a chance of losing the other two as well. For 10 days, I was hospitalized, um, receiving antibiotics. And after 10 days, went into theater. And but in this whole process, I was upset with God. Really, how can God not hear my prayers? I'm His servant doing His will. Everybody's praying for me. What what am I going to say to the people? Prayer doesn't work. or healing doesn't come, even though I know God heals. Many people have been healed through our ministry when we lay hands upon them, blind eyes opened, and so forth, miraculous healings. And yet here I lie in the hospital, gonna amputate my toe. So I was in a deep myself emotionally. And suddenly I realized I'm battling with depression
Oh, wow.
from this experience. And I didn't know what to do.
Well, can I
The
just
church must
interject
go
there?
on.
I just want to interject there.
Yes,
You are always a sure-footed man when it comes to the gospel. There's just no doubt in my mind. I mean, you have encouraged people, you've seen miracles, you've been part of miracles. So obviously, to find yourself on the back foot in terms of, hold on, how come my faith is not bringing forth the miracles that I've seen with my own eyes? I can fully
yes.
understand that that could put you in a state of semi-depression in terms of why me? And I can feel that battle. And this is so encouraging for me to know is that, bad things happen to good people. It's a fact of life.
Yeah,
You don't plan for it, but how you deal with it will determine your character.
as I've said, it was tough for me because Pastor, I need to get the church going. I can't be at church. I'm not even the first meeting. And now I must ask my spiritual sons to stand in my gap, to preach on my behalf, to get the church going. And through this whole process, now I'm sick. I had an amputation. I'm at home, can't wear shoes. I was so weak, and doc, you won't believe I couldn't walk anymore. I had to use crutches. I had been pushed in with a wheelchair into hospital. Got out of hospital on crutches and a walking stick. I was so weak. I couldn't go back to church for a month,
Wow.
and my sons are preaching. But this is where the testimony lies. My granddaughter and my wife visited me in hospital. And as they were leaving, my granddaughter said to me, Opa, Grandpa, the Lord said you must write the book. Sorry for becoming emotional because this is so true to my heart and close to my heart. And I said, sure. What must the book be about? Say, what you're going through.
Good.
And I thought to myself, I don't feel in the mood to write. And they left. Within 5 minutes, she phoned me and she said, the book's name must be The Bottom of the Pit.
Wow. Out of the mouth of
I
babes.
didn't have,
Out of the mouth of
I
babes.
didn't have, I didn't have my notebooks, paper, my computer, nothing with me. And then when she said it, it resonated in my spirit. And I started dictating on my phone. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. For the next few days, I wrote or dictated the book in my hospital bed.
Wow.
And then I said, God, but why? Why am I going through it? As you will see from the book, we all, and there are so many other people going through these experiences in the Bible, righteous men of God.
True.
And the Lord said, I want you to stand back and allow those that you have trained to step up to a higher level. And you know what? My sons did well. They excelled. They've actually, I want to say, did better than I would have done because now they must embrace the responsibility of becoming the mature sons in the house.
Now, isn't it like a
This
proud
was my
father?
experience.
This is like a proud father
Absolutely.
speaking. Proud father saying, man, look at my son. Look at them. They're standing on my shoulders. They're doing better than I expected. And if I didn't go through this bottom and this pit experience, I never would have maybe stood back to
Yeah.
give them the opportunity to rise to the top. Isn't that true?
Yeah. See, when I came to the realization, this was in the allowed will of God. a spider bit me. I got gangrene. Not that the diabetes was did me any good. It was just worsening the factor. But if I had to sacrifice a limb, even though it was the smallest limb in my body, for my sons to excel, for me to stand back and say, you guys are doing well. And then in retrospect, it was a form of acknowledgement that the years of investing was worth it. And then as I think about what has happened, I realized 2 years prior to this experience, the Lord said to me, go and train the sons so that they are ready for whatever, for whenever. And I've always has this motto that says, when Timothy says, be ready in season and out of season.
Yep.
So I had to phone my one spiritual son, say, this is the Friday. Say, you are preaching Sunday. If you don't have notes, take my notes. He says, Pastor, I'm ready. I've been waiting for this.
You know, that reminds me of
This
Romans
was my
8:28. It reminds me of Romans 8:28. God acts and will according to his purpose. That means good and bad. Because allowing you to take the step back, which was a momentary setback in terms of your emotions, but it actually opened up a new platform and a new opportunity for your sons. And you're now celebrating that and saying, wow, I'm so glad that happened to me to enable me to go to the next level.
Would I have done this the same way if I was healthy? No. I would not have done this and allowed the sons to set the pace. Because pastorally, as the senior pastor, it is expected of you to do this.
True.
So God allowed this for the bigger picture. Now I've lost a limb, and the advantage of this, my sons are excelling, and this whole year, I preach 2 Sundays a month. The other Sundays, the sons are preaching. I don't have to preach anymore. I preach because I want to preach.
Isn't it like funny how God set you up for a new season in his way? I can see him saying, I want you to rest in me. I mean, I just hear Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God.
And no, yeah.
And this has made you still before him.
You see, Doc, you know, I love traveling. We've traveled together to various countries. And since COVID, everything stopped. And the traveling has stopped. And it's frustrated me.
Uh-huh.
And I want to start traveling and do my itinerant ministry again. But the house was not ready for that new season. And 2 years ago, the Lord said, prepare the sons, for your time will come that you shall start traveling again. And I started the training of one of my previous books is Preaching Made Easy.
Okay.
I've written a whole book just on preparing the lay pastors or the lay preachers. And I took the sons through this. And now I'm waiting. And the question you ask yourself, when will they be ready? And the Lord says, this year. 2025, they will be ready. Fantastic. Not knowing what is going to happen. And this was the driving force behind this book, that I went through from a state of darkness, a state of a form of depression. I won't classify myself as a person with depression, but I went through that rock bottom place, and how I had to allow God to bring this. And in this whole process, in this book, it shows me who was in the pit. What must I do in the pit? What is God doing in the pit? What is the outcome of the pit?
So is it fair to say the pit equals rock bottom? Bottom line.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It might not be a physical pit. Daniel was in the lion's den.
Okay.
Paul was in the prison. I was in a hospital bed. That rock bottom place where you've lost everything. Some people have lost their homes, their houses due to the pandemic. And what do you do? What do you tell your congregation? That my faith was not good enough for myself. So you are battling with so many emotions in
Correct.
that process. I've just seen a video clip of Jensen Franklin this morning when he acknowledged and said he went through a dark place in his own life where you are stripped of all the pretenses, all the labels the church are hanging on pastors. You must be strong. You can never show your weakness, and how, because if you are going through a dark place, it means your faith is weak, and so forth. It's a load of rubbish.
In fact, you're showing so much strength when you can come from a point of vulnerability, because people like people who are real. And I think authenticity is one of the problems of our age. There's this trying to live more than, be more than. And this is where this unhealthy thing of competing with the Joneses comes in. And yet there is no competition because
Yeah,
God just expects you to be you. He doesn't expect you to be your neighbor. And it is such a simplistic lesson. And yes, he takes us to the pit, but there's always self-discovery. I think obviously at first is denial. This is not me. And then you get to that
yeah,
self-discovery of like, hold on, there's so much good in the lesson. And I can see how this is propelling you forward. And I can hear you talking a different language because you realized what it really, really was about. It was to set you up to empower others to get ahead. And for you to say, maybe I have a new season where I can add value in different ways. And I think that your writing is going to
yeah.
become so much more important because, I mean, you've written how many books? How many books have you written?
That was number 15.
Exactly. I don't know many people in my life that have written 15 books, but you see, it's your experiences that go into them. And I'm going to encourage the people that we are going to be doing a book a month with you. I'm going to bring you back because
Thank you.
people want to know more about you and about your experiences. And that's just what we will do. We will platform it here because it's part of unleashing others' potential. And that is that everybody will have a pit experience. But the question is, how will you react or respond in those circumstances? Now, we understand. Some people respond. They even go into a shell, they go into a cave, and they disappear. Other people react and now they become angry and they start shouting at other people and it manifests in a way that you go, who's that person? But you see,
Yeah.
we are who we are. But it's that bottom of the pit experience that determines whether we will get the lesson or not. So
Yeah.
help us with the lesson that you've learned.
Whoa, I've got so many lessons that I've learned. The one major thing that I've learned is that I'm not so smart. God doesn't need me. He can use anybody. And a father, and especially in the church, a spiritual father, must be able to stand back and allow the sons to shine, allow them to take up responsibility. And if we do not unleash their potential, we will burn out. And so many pastors are battling with burnout today. Pressures of ministry. And this is the one lesson I've learned. And God always answers us, but not always in the way we want the answer to be.
Correct.
Um, we have prayed for healing. And the Lord said, I've got something bigger in place for you. And then I realized, God, if it cost me my little toe, you could have asked my arm, my leg. But he said, I will take the least from you so you can deal with that darkness. And this has become a message to others because I am not the only one that has hit rock bottom in the world. There are numerous other Christians that has hit
I'm waving my
rock
hand, brother. I
bottom.
know all about that. 100%. But
This hit rock bottom.
it's so
And
encouraging.
we as Christians, we have been trained and taught, don't acknowledge these rock bottom moments. Be positive, confess the positive. I know there's power in the tongue, and I know we need to confess the positive things in the word. I know this. Pardon. But we need to be honest, be real, be authentic.
Yeah,
If you're going through a dark space, tell it to people. Don't brag about it. Don't go and sit there where the devil wants us to sit. But tell people, you know what? I've been there. I've bought the t-shirt, and you know what? There's hope after the pit.
now I actually want
There's
to ask you,
life after the pit. Hmm?
in you learning the lessons, the one thing you learned is that God specifically positioned this and had to take away to give back. That's lesson number one we learned. Number two, I hear that there was a self positioning of being real with yourself, and that led to some form of accountability, someone that you had to share with, because you realized you cannot keep this all to yourself. And I know your wife's
Yeah.
your best friend, and I think you took it, and maybe there's even somebody else that you confided in and said, "Hey, this is a wake up call to me." Talk to me about this accountability that this pit experience brings to a person.
Once you are in a pit, you are stripped of all your masks. There are no more masks. You can't hide anymore. And the quicker you acknowledge you're in a pit, the quicker you can get out of it. And unfortunately, there are people that want to keep you in the pit.
True.
Ask Joseph. Ask Joseph. They want to keep you in the pit. And once you get out of the pit, they don't. Jealousy is so strong and vibrant. And I'm not talking about the secular world, I'm talking about the church. My
Yeah,
brothers and my sisters, this forms of jealousy. Once you excel, they wonder, yeah, I wonder what they are doing wrong. I think they are taking the church's money or whatever. And
true.
if they're going through a dark space, they are secretly celebrating your dark space so that they can feel good about their own life. And these are the things that the Lord has really brought me to a place of a greater understanding for those who are going through dark space. I had this attitude. If you're going through a dark time in a rock bottom, just get your mind right.
Yeah.
Get over it. And I realize now it's not so easy. If you're in the, you see, when you are in the bottom of the pit, nobody is going to help you out.
Yeah. You have to find the
Nobody's going
solution.
to throw a rope for you. Those who throw a rope wants to sell you. You need
Oh gosh, that's so well spoken.
you need to get out of the pit yourself through the changing of your mindset.
Okay.
Those around you are your cheerleaders on the top of the pit that will cheer you on to get out. And once you get out, God says, don't worry, you've never been alone. In whilst we are in the pit, God is with us in the pit. This is where He has our undivided attention. Because once you're in the pit, there's nobody else except you and God that can help you. These are some of the fantastic things I've learned. And yes, a greater sense of compassion has been birthed in my heart for people going through a dark space in life.
Well, you're talking about the power of the mind. I'm thinking of Philippians 4:8, where it says, whatever is noble, whatever is pure, and so it goes on until it says, let your mind dwell on such things. So in that pit, you start realizing as you recite scripture like that and you start looking at things to be grateful for, you start realizing that there is a life beyond the pit. And gradually, you will actually start seeing the benefit of wanting to get out of the pit. As you say, the people, if they pull you out, you don't learn the lesson. But if you find yourself in terms of speaking to your greater El Elyon, learning from him, learning about yourself, and then clawing yourself out of that pit is the strongest place that you can be, because then you are able to give a testimony and you can actually help others
Yeah.
when they hit the pit. That's what it's about.
You see now that this is exactly right. This whole experience birthed this book. And if I didn't go through this, I had to, if I had to write a book on the bottom of the pit, I had to rely on other people's experiences. Now I can, from a first hand point of view, state, guys, it is tough in the pit. It's not nice. It's not easy. But the one advantage of the rock bottom, you can't go further down. You can only go up.
True.
And as you realize this, I can't do it in my own efforts,
Yeah.
my own abilities. I can't rely on others to get me out of this emotional state, because it's actually an emotional state and a spiritual reflection of my emotional state. Um, I need to change something in my life, because you are stripped of all your glamour and glitz, and you are stripped from all achievements. You are you and you and God. And that is it. Deal with this and get out of the pit.
So, what does it look like if you know, and there's somebody listening today, because I know people are going to come across this message and say, well, I feel I'm in a pit right now. Having been there, how about a 3 point of this is how you approach it? How do you get out of the pit? Speak straight to us.
I think one of the best ways to get out of the pit, acknowledge that you are not superhuman,
Okay.
that you need God. Your knowledge, your accolades, your qualifications means nothing when you hit rock bottom. That is the time when deep calls unto deep, when you must delve into your relationship with God that you had prior to the pit. And once you're in the pit, start praising God in the midst of your crisis, in the midst of what you're going through, whatever your bottom of the pit experience might be. Mine was now my little toe. Other people have got other pit experiences. Start praising God and acknowledge that we need Him. We cannot rely on anybody else. And as we praise Him, His blessings comes down. And as His blessings comes down, do something about it. Change your life, change your attitude, change your devotional time, increase your intimacy with God. So it's all about my relationship with God. And it's that bottom of the pit. And you see in my book, I've written about the valley of Baca, the valley of death, where you're going through tough times in your life. And this is where you have to rely only on God. Whatever you have achievements in the past, you might be a multi-millionaire or billionaire, it doesn't matter. When you're at the bottom of the pit, you can't buy your way out of the bottom of the pit. Only humility, humbleness, and acknowledging that God is God. And then you can get out of that pit experience.
Well, that is absolutely powerful, because literally it's setting others up to realize that there might be a reason why the pit experience has been brought upon their life. And what I can see in your said is an acceleration of what is more important than. Before, you were maybe going through the motions, but this really made you
Yeah.
realize, number one, what must I delegate? What can go to others that I think I should be doing, but it's not the truth? I was only the spear point. It's time for them to become the arrow. Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That really is befitting. And then for you to realize, but there's a different dimension for you and a new level of connection with yourself. Because let's face it, you're only responsible to yourself of being the right person and being the best version of yourself. And it's so great to hear that you actually woke up to that factor. So, anybody that wants to get hold of this book, what do they do? Can they email you? Can they log on? How do they get hold of this book of yours?
They can email me. And I assume you will give the email address as a ribbon a little bit later. They can phone me. And my books are also available on Amazon. They can order it internationally as well from Amazon. But for people like myself, I prefer a hard copy. I like to page through a book instead of just browsing down the book. So it's available on, they can email me, they can WhatsApp me or call me, or go on Amazon and get my books from there as well.
Well, from my side, I commit to have all of that information available, and this was one of 12. Okay, as we're going to go with you month by month, we're going to take one of your books and look at what can we learn. But as we summarize, what are the three key learnings of from the bottom of the pit?
On a lighter note, now I can use nice pointed shoes because the one little toe is gone.
I love it. You have to be able to laugh at yourself because it's a new positioning.
Absolutely. I think the few things that the three lessons that I think is important is number one, we are not, when you go through this drama in your life, this chaos, this bottom of the pit, you realize the value of spiritual sons that are surrounding you, that helps you carry the burden, and you're not alone. That's one of the lessons. It's not necessarily in order of priority. My relationship with God has changed, and it will change. God suddenly becomes more real. It's one thing to read about certain things, it's another thing to go through it.
True.
And I think very important, you are not alone in the pit. There are many others that has preceded you, that has set few examples to follow. This book is one example to follow, a solution or an outcome to show you what I must do. And then I think thirdly, a bottom of the pit experience is always unlocking a better destiny. Joseph, one of my other books that I've written, The Six P's in Joseph's Life, he went through a process from the pit to become the second in charge of Egypt, to become the providers for his brothers. He would never have ended up in Egypt if he has never been in the pit.
Well, there you have it. From the pit to the palace, because why? People learning from the experience when you're at the bottom of the pit. My friends, that was Dr. Ardis Pretorius speaking from the heart, touching the real nerve in terms of maybe the situation that we sometimes find ourselves in is that whole new experience to say realign, readjust, and resurface. Until we speak next time, remember, unleash your full potential. I greet you.